Hello, in this video we're going to cover how to add any custom animation as long as as long as it can be mapped to the epic skeleton, whether it's the UE4 mannequin or the UE5 mannequin. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to build on our previous project, and we're going to add a custom a chat panel right here. And just like a lot of games like World of Warcraft or any MMORPG, you can write /dance or /angry, and the character will do those animations. We'll build the same thing as well. So first, let's go get some animations. I'm going to open the Epic Marketplace, and you can do the same. And if you go to the Marketplace, you can search for Actor Core Sample Motions, and you'll be able to get this pack. It's free, and what's important is when you scroll down to any of these projects that you want to use, you want to make sure that in the features or in the you have the rigged to epic skeleton. That's what's really important. And in our case, you can see that the support for this is UE4, and we're using UE 5.1. But that doesn't matter because we're going to learn how to actually retarget it to our metahuman or the UE5 mannequin. So what you want to do here, you want to click on add to project, and you won't see a project here because it needs to be 5.1 in order to be usable. But you can click on show all projects right here, and you can choose the project that you want to add it to. So in my case, I want to add it here, and it's going to say it's not compatible. That's okay. You can just choose a compatible version here, and you can click add to project. So once that's done, you can go back to your project, and you'll have it here. And if you go into your actor core sample motions, that's where they're going to be. Now, if you open your actor core sample motions folder, you'll find that there's a dummy female folder and a dummy male folder, and they have their own skeleton. So if I open this one right here, and let me drag it here, you'll see that this is its own skeleton and it's not the UE4 mannequin. But if you actually open the UE4 mannequin as well, so if I go into my characters, go into the UE4 mannequin and open the skeletal mesh for the UE4 mannequin as well, you'll see that it's pretty similar to the dummy female. They're almost exactly the same. So we're going to make it work with this. So the way you do that is you open the SK mannequin skeleton here and the UE4 one, okay? So make sure you open the UE4 one, and then you go to the asset, you go to the window, and you go to asset details, and in the compatible skeletons, you want to add the dummy female skeleton right here. So I'm going to add the dummy female skeleton and the dummy male skeleton because there are two sets of animations in this pack, and some of them are mapped to the dummy female skeleton, and some of them are mapped to the dummy male skeleton, and I want both of them for this tutorial. So I'm going to choose a dummy female skeleton, and I'll also choose the dummy male skeleton. And this way it'll map those skeletons to the UE4 skeleton, and I'll be able to use the animations there. So once I have this set, I just close this and I do a save here. Now I can close both of these. Now if we go to the characters folder and go to the UE4 mannequin and go to the rigs. So right now we have the actor sample skeleton mapped to the UE4 one, and now we want to map it to the UE5 mannequin so that we can use it on our metahuman. So if you go to the rigs folder, you'll see there is an RTG UE4 mani to UE5 mani. So you double click and open this, and let me bring it for you here. So you see that now all the animations that were available that we just downloaded, even though they were mapped to another skeleton, we see them all here. So we have like the Arabic dance, and you can click on it and you'll see that the animations are working perfectly for the UE4 and the UE5 mannequin. So what we need to do now is choose what animations we want to use on our metahuman and export them. So I'm going to take the aerobic dance, I'm going to take the air dance, I'll take the dance gracefully, and let's see what else. I'll take the magic spell as well. So I can hold control and click on all of them, and then click on export selected animations. And I'm going to put them in the characters, mannequins animation for Manny. So right now we're mapping to the UE5 mannequin. Okay, so we press export and we should get all of those. All right, perfect. So now once we have the UE5 mannequin animations, what we can do is just like we did in the previous video, now we just need to map it to the metahuman. So if you recall, we have the rig here for the UE5 mannequin, and we're going to click on RTG mannequin here, and we're going to open it, and we should see all the stuff that we just exported here as well. So now if I press on Arabic dance, you'll see that our metahuman is also replicating the UE5 mannequin as well. Now we can just export these for the metahuman. Where's the magic one? Let's see. There we go, magic spell. So once I choose all these four, I'm going to export these ones, and I'm going to export them into the metahuman folder, into tray, and I'll just put it in tray for now, and then I'll move it to an animations folder. So I'm going to hit export, and now I have all those animations for tray as well. So I'm just going to create a new folder here just so it's a bit more neat, and I'm going to call this animations, and I'm going to move all of these there. All right, great. So now what we want to do, I'm going to create a new animation montage, and I'm going to add all of these to that one so I don't have all these separate ones when I want to code it into our program. So you can right click, go to animation, and then choose animation montage, and it asks you what skeleton you want to use. You want to choose your metahuman skeleton, which would be metahuman base skeleton right here. So I'm going to call this AM for animation montage, and I'm going to call it emotes. And we're going to open this right here. So with an animation montage, we can add multiple animations to it, and then you can play whichever one you want from those animations. So if I go into the assets browser, I'm going to choose which animations I want. So I want the Arabic dance, the air dance, dance gracefully, and the magic spell. And I'm just going to drag them and drop them in the default group slot. So now you can see that I have all my animations right here. And what I can do is then I can play whichever of them I want. And the way I do that, I name each section. So I'm going to right click here, and I'm going to press new montage section. And this one I'm going to call graceful. I'm going to make another one called spell. And I'm going to move it to so that it's right at the beginning of this animation. I'm going to create a new montage section, and I'm going to call this one air. And let's move it here. And I'm going to create another new one, and I'm going to call this one Arabic. And let's move this one right here. Now, if you hold Control and scroll, you can zoom in and out. Now, the only thing I need to do is I need to remove this default one here and move graceful back here. All right, cool. So now we have all our animations, and we have a name for each of the sections, and I'll show you how we can use that. And then one more thing we need to do is if you click on the montage sections right here, right now the way it works is each one is going to play, and immediately after it's finished, the other one is going to play, and we don't want that. We want each one to play separately. So you can just hit clear here, and then it'll separate all of the animations. So once you do that, you hit save, and we can close out of this and close out of everything else, and we can go back to our scene. Now, the other thing that we need is an animation blueprint. So we right click, go to animation, and go to animation blueprint. And again, it asks us for the skeleton. We're going to choose the metahuman base skeleton again, and we're going to hit create. Now, an animation blueprint helps us control what and which animation to play at what time. And we want to control it because we want the user to type what they want, and then we want to react accordingly. So we're going to call it ABP tray. All right, okay, cool. So now let's open the animation blueprint. And let's look at what we can do here. So the animation blueprint has an output pose node, which is what the end result of this is the end result. So whatever that comes into it is the animation that Trey is going to play. So by default, we want the character to be in the idle state. So if you look in the asset browser on the right, if you search for idle, we can bring that idle animation right here, and we can drag a pin from it into the output pose. And we want to make sure that when we have the idle pose chosen, we want this to loop. So we scroll down, there should be an option for loop animation right here. I'm going to hit that. Now I'm going to compile and save. And if we go into the blueprint for tray, so let's double click this. So if we go to the body and we scroll down, we see that from the previous video, we're using a specific animation. We want to actually use the animation blueprint, and we're going to choose the one that we just created, which was called ABP tray. Once we have that, we hit compile and save. And now if we hit play, our tray should be in the idle animation. And we see that that is the case. All right, perfect. So now let's bring in the other animations as well. So here we have idle. In order to use animation montages, we need to add a default slot here. So you search for a default slot, and this will allow us to use animation montages. And the reason for that is if you actually open your animation montage, you'll see that it's playing in the default slot, right? So what we're saying to the animation blueprint is when you're playing the idle, also go through the default slot. So in case any of these are playing, then they would take over. All right, so now how do we make them choose which animation to play? So for that, we need a UI. So like in the chat system of World of Warcraft where they type dance for angry or stuff like that, we need the same thing. So now let's create the UI and connect all these pieces together to make everything work. So let's go back into the content folder and create a new folder here. And I'm going to call this HUD for user interface. And we're going to go into this, and we're going to right click and then choose user interface and choose widget blueprint right here. So a widget blueprint is a blueprint class that we use to create user interfaces. So I'm going to click that. It's going to ask which class to use. We're just going to choose the user widget. And it's convention to put WBP in front of these classes. And I'm going to call this UI, for example. All right, so let's double click here, and we'll get this screen opening right here, and we're going to add some UI elements. So on the left plane of the screen, on your palette, if you search for canvas, you can add a canvas panel and drag it down here, and you'll get this canvas, which means you can put different UI elements. We're going to make something really simple. We're going to imitate a lot of games where they have like this, the chat box on the bottom left. So I'm just going to search for text, and I'm going to add a editable text right here in the corner, and we'll make it a bit bigger, and we'll move it right here, and we can anchor it to the left corner so that when people change the screen size, it doesn't go all bunkers. So on the right, when you have the edit box chosen, you can hit this button down here and choose the bottom left anchor, and that should be enough. And we can even put the some hint text. So type your emote like this, and this will happen. All right, so now let's just add a button and drag it onto the screen, and we will make it a bit bigger, and we'll also anchor it to the bottom left just like that, and we'll add some text in the button as well. If you hold it in the button, it'll actually attach it to the button. Oh, I chose the wrong one. You want to choose text, not text box. I was wondering why I was getting a box. All right, cool. So now I'm going to just make the button a little bit bigger, and I'm going to change the text to send. Okay. So now we have the button and we have the thing, and I'll just move this a little bit to the right. Okay, so now we have our text box and we have the send button, and what we want to happen, we want whenever let's actually rename these so we don't get confused. So I'm going to rename this send button, and I'm going to rename this to chat. Right, so what we want to happen is whenever the user presses send, we want to take the text that the user has written. So let's say they wrote dance, and we want the animation montage to play the dance section. So if we go back to our animation montage, we have graceful, spell, air, and Arabic. So those are the four that they should write in the chat. So let's go back to the UI. The way we do that, I'm going to hit compile and save. The way we do that is if we click on the button right here and we scroll all the way down, you'll have events, and there's an on-clicked event. So let's go to the on-clicked event right here and press the plus button. So what we want to do is play an animation montage whenever they click this button. So if we drag from this and type animation montage, you'll see there's a function called play montage. So we're going to use that, and we're going to drag it here. And what it's asking us is the skeletal mesh, the montage to play. That one is easy. We can choose the montage that we created. All right, so it asks for the montage to play, and it asks for the starting section and how fast we want it to play the animation and the skeletal mesh. So in order to get access to our skeletal mesh, which is our metahuman, we're going to come to our event construct right here. So this gets called whenever the our UI is getting created the first time, and we want to tell it to grab our metahuman whenever the game starts and save it in a variable so we can use it. So the way we do that is we call getActor of class, this function right here, and we choose our metahuman. So mine is called bptray, yours may be called whatever that you named it. So you choose that here, and then you want the body, because that's the skeletal mesh that we're using, right? So we want the actual body of the skeletal mesh. So we're going to say get body, and we should see it somewhere here. There we go, get body, and we want to promote it to a variable. So when you drag from the body, you should see a promote to variable option, and we'll set it right here. Okay, so now we get access to the body variable, and if you look on the left of your screen, you should see the variable right here. So now we can drag the body into the blueprint, get body, and then drag it into the skeletal mesh component. And now we just need to give it the section name we want it to play. So if you remember, we want the chat message to be what the section name is. So we have the chat variable right here. I can drag it onto the blueprint, get chat. So what I want is the text inside of it. So I say get text, and we should choose this one. And after we get the text, we want the string inside of it. So we want the actual thing that's written inside. So we say get string. So we have a toString method right here, and I can drag from here into the starting section. Okay, so what we're basically saying is whenever the user clicks the send button, grab the text that they've written and play the montage section on the body of the metahuman. All right, so we're gonna hit compile, save. So now we have the UI. The last thing that we need to do, I'm gonna compile, save this one here as well. The last thing we need to do is whenever the game starts, we need to spawn the UI and put it on the screen, because if we hit play right now, the UI doesn't appear. So the way you do that, one way you can actually do that is you can click on this icon here and open the level blueprint. And you have an event begin play here. So this means whenever the level loads and it's about to start, we want to add the UI here. So what we do here is we go to, we drag from here and we do the create widget class, create widget function, and we tell it which widget we want it to create, and it's, in our case, it's the WBP UI that we just created. So we want to spawn this on the map. So in order to, so this creates it and then we spawn it. And the way you do that is you say add to viewport. And for the target, what do we want it to add to the viewport? It's the blueprint, the UI blueprint that we just created. And the last thing we want to do is, let me just compile this and show what happens. So you see that when we click here, the UI is on the bottom left, but we can't see our mouse in order to go click on it, right? So one way we can do that is we can go back to the level blueprint and we can right click, search for get player controller. There should be a function get player controller like this, and we drag from the blue icon the return value and we say show mouse cursor. So we search for mouse cursor and there should be a set mouse cursor. Oh, not this one, my bad. I think it's show mouse cursor. Yeah, there we go. So set show mouse cursor, and we drag from this to here, and we want it to show it. So we hit this, we check this option, and now if we hit compile, and if we go back to, let's check our animation montage names, graceful, spell, air, and Arabic. Okay, cool. So if we go back here and we hit play, I'm gonna open it and make it a bit bigger. Okay, so now I can see my mouse cursor. Now if we do Arabic and hit the send button, it should do the animation. And there you go. So now that's exactly like the games that you see, like League of Legends or WoW or Final Fantasy, whichever ones that you enjoy. So let's try another one. Let's do spell. I think I called it. Let's check real quick. Yep, spell. Let's try that. All right, yep, looks like he's doing it. And let's try air as well. As you can see, just like that, you can actually have all the emotes that you want. So you can find animations for anger, for frustration, for all the different stuff that you enjoy in other games. They might not be free, but you can test your luck, and then you can actually add them in to this system where they can actually type stuff and the character would play it. You can do a lot of cool stuff like add sounds and particle systems and stuff like that while it's playing the animations as well. But perhaps that should be for another video. This one is already long enough. I hope it was helpful, and thanks for watching.